I just thought, you know, you go out there, it's like, who am I playing with almost? It's kind of awkward, you know, and, you know, it was just half a second late. Everything else was okay. Yeah, everything else was okay.
Wind.
Great, actually. I was surprised about that, but I was good.
Cool.
No, I mean, I think, you know, I felt like one of the things that we were clearly struggling with at that point in time was scoring. And scoring at the rim, I felt like we missed a bunch of layups today. Maybe I'm wrong. But they interfere you at the rim because of their length. I mean, they're flying, and even if they're not there, you think they're there. And so for whatever reason, we missed a bunch of layups, and I just felt like, you know, we'll have some chances if we get the ball up on the glass to get some offensive rebounds. We'll have some chances at the rim if he plays long enough, and he didn't. I felt like maybe he could give us a boost.
We're back for part 2 now. Let's talk about Jared Sullinger, who made his return to the game. So Jared Sullinger had been out since February 11th. Comes back on April 3rd, and according to my watch, and didn't.
Fake, by the way.
He looked like it's a fake Seiko watch. Those are real. Gift from my grandma from a bar mitzvah a long time ago. R.I.P. Grandma. And so I guess you don't have your stat anymore.
That's okay.
So Kyle, why don't
right
you
off
get
here.
that for him? So
Hold on.
we're gonna
this.
edit this out of the show, but
Watch
not
out for the
really.
mic.
No, we're not.
Yeah,
We're not going to edit this.
show.
This is all live.
You can steal all of Kevin's pointers, actually.
He's a little butterfinger out. It's his first show. He's a little nervous. He's shaking over there.
It's all right, buddy. You're going to get through this.
I'm good.
So, we're going to talk about Jared Sullinger now. Makes his return to the team. Looks like maybe he could have waited till April 11th based on the way he looked tonight. I mean, Kevin.
Come on.
I know you had no thoughts on this whatsoever, so I'm going to go to you first on this. Jared Sullinger,
Sarcasm.
did he return too soon?
I don't think he returned too soon. I know before the game they mentioned possibly sending him to the D-League. I think he said that. And playing 3 minutes in the NBA is probably better than playing a couple quarters in the D-League.
Is there a D-League game tonight?
I think there is.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, I think every night the rest of the year, I'm pretty sure Celtics and Maine play the same night. But, you know, playing 3 minutes for Boston, probably a little bit better than playing for Maine because he would dominate there. And tonight was just about getting cobwebs off.
And his wind looked fine. I mean, the guy was getting up and down the floor okay. He said he was getting up and down the floor okay. I mean, it was only for 4 minutes, Jimmy, so we didn't really get to see how he would last 20 minutes into the game.
Right. I mean, to answer your question, did he come back too soon? No, because the doctor said he's ready to come back. So he came back right when the doctor said. I don't think Danny Ainge is like pushing to get Sullinger back in the court for a playoff push. I think maybe he's extremely happy that he's back in the court for off-season purposes to say, hey, he's healthy. He played the last 10 games of the regular season, and if they made the playoffs, and he played in the playoffs. There's no injury concerns here, so maybe that's one benefit for him coming back when he did. But I don't think they rushed him back. And to answer your question about how he played tonight, I mean, we really don't know. To be determined. It was limited minutes. Obviously, he wasn't that effective because Stevens pulled him pretty quickly there in the third quarter. I think he was, like you said in the first video, he was throwing darts a little bit there in the second half. And, you know, why not give it a shot and see what goes on. But
And Stevens did say too soon to judge. Only played 4 minutes, first game back. So you can weigh in on that. Go download Reached on the iTunes Store, Google Play. If you're on Linux, have a phone that runs Linux for some reason, whatever their app store is. And use the link below in the description. So, Kevin, we have you on. You're a really great X's and O's guy. It's why you're one of my favorite writers out there.
Yep.
I wanted to hear your thoughts on the Celtics spread offense because we saw them running the spread offense a lot tonight, and it seemed like they had a lot of guys that could catch the ball and try to shoot it. And there's a guy in their face, they would just dribble to the middle, pass off to the next guy, and they're basically running a weave the entire time until someone has to take a shot at the end of the shot clock. So that's kind of the low point of when the spread offense works. But it's been great other times. I wanted to get your take on it, especially going into the playoffs.
Well, the goal is to get open shots with that. And I really like the offense because I think especially for a team like this, they don't have a guy maybe besides Isaiah Thomas that you want to feed the ball to. So with the spread offense, it's really about just going on both ends of the floor, finding the open guy. And like you said, if the open shot's not there, when they drive, they can just drive the closeout, go to the basket, either lay it up, put up a runner, kick it out to the perimeter. It's really good for creating offense and getting open looks.
Because what I like is this year, more than ever, they've been able to get 2 corner shooters out there at all times, and that really keeps both sides of the floor open. But they have had trouble finding that extra corner guy and getting him kind of open in time. We saw tonight a lot of kind of lobbed passes, not a lot of crisp, sharp passing to the corners. That's something they were doing, Jimmy, a little bit earlier this year, or maybe kind of like when Isaiah Thomas got here and they were making that great run. But maybe they've been playing better defenses lately, or teams are starting to kind of – they've got enough film, enough scouting on them that they kind of know how the offense is going to be run. But it seems like they're just not moving quite as crisply as they did before.
I mean, that could be it. I mean, I think anytime any offense or any defense that you run, teams are going to catch on to it. It's like a rookie, say a rookie pitcher, a rookie hitter. You know, the more film there is on this guy, the more game planning there is. There's going to be ways to stop it. But I do agree with Kevin. I like their spread offense, and I think that it causes a lot of problems for teams. And we saw it against the Pacers. I mean, Frank Vogel even said it, like, they're one of those teams that they'll go 5 3-point shooters on you. They'll spread the floor. They'll zip the ball around there, and they'll find an open shot. And, I mean, yeah, it didn't work out for them. They lost the game tonight, obviously, but on Monday it worked, and it's been working for them in the past. And like you said, there's no, like, hero ball player. Isaiah Thomas is as close as it gets, or Evan Turner to an extent, but there's not a guy that you really want to go ISO with down the court every single play. So this is what works for them right now.
And another factor is, a couple weeks ago, Danny Ainge said Brad doesn't even have the right guys for his system. The personnel's not perfect. I mean, look at Tyler Zeller and Brandon Bass. Neither of them are 3-point shooters. They're trying to turn Bass into a corner 3 shooter. But
Brad, a little bit, very rarely.
A little bit, yeah. He had a driving the closeout tonight. But, once Brad gets his guys, offense could be lethal.
And, I mean, you got to have guys like Tyler Zeller and Brandon Bass on your team, but not everyone on your entire roster can shoot 3-point shooter.
Yes, they can. Come on.
Unless you're Houston, I guess, is probably one of them. Yeah. And, I mean, this team seems very similar to Houston in a lot of ways. They're just waiting for Marcus Smart to turn into James Harden, which is probably a decade away from happening. But it's
hey, you never know.
But I know you're really high on Marcus Smart. I've been kind of middle of the road on him. I mean, his potential to grow is huge. I feel like you see more potential than I do.
Well, I thought he'd be an offensive 0 this season, but he's actually hitting threes, and that's an amazing development for him, because that was probably his biggest weakness at Oklahoma State. But he's finally starting to learn how to play at different speeds, because at Oklahoma State he would just barrel through defenders. But now he's doing a good job of just calculating his moves and getting to the rim. He had a nice move tonight. I think he laid it up with the left hand. And, he's not great there.
Up, I think.
Yeah, had that too. But he's getting better. And he's not drawing fouls yet. He's not Harden, maybe someday. But, I think his defense is elite. If he can provide good quality offense, you're going to have a really good player.
So I was a little surprised that I thought he was going to bring a little bit more dribble penetration capability. Yeah. And I understand that he was a barrel guy. He can't do that in the NBA, really. You're going to get stripped, going to commit offensive fouls, stuff like that. But we really haven't seen any willingness for him to kind of cross guys up, try to weave through traffic to get in there. I thought that's something we would see as the season went on. It kind of has shown a few peaks here or there. He's shown a little bit of an ability to drive and kick, maybe a little bit of interior pocket passing, but it's been so few examples that I've been a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, well, like you said, he was someone in Oklahoma State who barreled through defenders. And I think a lot of the moves that he had there, shifty moves, he's not that quick. No. And he's the type of guy that's going to need to learn how to change speeds. And it's kind of like a Ty Lawson, except in terms of changing speeds. He's not as fast as Lawson, but
he's as fast as it gets.
Of course. But in terms of Lawson doesn't always play at full speed. He's a guy who knows how to change speeds and get a guy on his back, and Smart's large, and he's going to have to be able to do that in order to get dribble penetration.
All right, I want to get you in the conversation, unless you don't want to be in the conversation. Go ahead. If you
I agree with what he was saying. I was going to further that till the upcoming draft class.
Oh,
so I didn't want to change the subject on you.
Okay, well, bring it in. Let's do it.
No, Kevin's a huge draft guy. I mean, he broke down every single draft prospect in last year's draft class. So, I mean, I don't want to put you in the spot, but is there a player in last year's class that has exceeded your expectations and one that has sort of hasn't met expectations?
Besides Langston Galloway, because that's too easy.
It's Langston Galloway. No, he exceeded everybody's expectations. Well, I mean, in terms of the Celtics, I think Smart's exceeded my expectations for the offense. But guys that have not met my expectations, going back,
Maybe not. What about Exeter? Like, what about Mirotic in Chicago? I know he wasn't technically drafted, but he's a rookie.
He's someone I guess has exceeded everybody's expectations this year. I mean, he's arguably the rookie of the year in what was a very strong draft class.
You think he could steal it from Wiggins?
I think he could.
Oh,
yeah,
definitely.
I mean,
down the stretch.
Depends
I mean,
on the voters.
Wiggins has been scoring like 20-plus points down the stretch, but Mirotic has become kind of the leader of a good playoff team.
Yeah.
It's
He's
incredible.
arguably the go-to guy on Chicago.
Yeah.
What about this upcoming draft? Have you been looking at any potential Celtics
Willie
fits?
Cauley-Stein.
Look at
Okay.
I mean, for
Will he fall though?
Yeah, Willie Cauley-Stein, unbelievable rim protector. I wrote an article today on SB Nation about him, and he ranks in the elite of the elite in terms of combined measurements, because the Kentucky Combine last year is a lane agility time and his max vertical reach are elite for all big men in the history of Draft Express's measurements.
I saw that last game. It's unbelievable.
His ability to defend virtually every position. May not be able to in the NBA, but he's the type of guy where a coach can at least feel comfortable defending him. And for the Celtics, he talks about how he wants to have versatile defenders all the time. Yeah, we see it with Jay Crowder. We see it with him switching with Bass. If Cauley-Stein was with Boston, Brad would feel comfortable switching him onto a wing or some guards. It may not be as effective as it is in college, but he's capable of doing it, and I just think he's unbelievable.
Why is Chris Webber not a fan? Did you hear what he said?
Yeah, I did.
Because he can't shoot the ball well enough.
So is he an offensive liability?
Well, would you say DeAndre Jordan's offensive liability? He's the fifth option on the floor.
Tyson Chandler.
He's a pick and roll option. He's a pick and roll threat. He can dunk over anybody. So if he's an elite defender and he's your fifth option offensively, I don't think he's a liability. But if Willie Cauley-Stein's your go-to guy, of course he's a liability. But
Will he fall to 15 if the Celtics are drafting right around 15? So Ainge has to exactly. So Ainge
have to trade up.
Would you be in favor of that, depending on what the price is?
Definitely.
If you're giving up another good first-round pick,
I'd be willing to trade Sullinger 15 and another maybe that Philly second to trade up to 6 to get him.
Really?
I think it'll go that
I'm
high.
surprised by it.
They have enough assets where they can give a little bit more.
They can trade up for whatever the heck they pick they want.
It's really about how you want to spend your money and how you want to spend your draft picks. If you want to spend money on a center, you wouldn't trade up for Willie Cauley-Stein. But if you don't want to spend money on your center,
would you rather pay the max to DeAndre Jordan or trade up a key player to get Willie Cauley-Stein?
I think I'd rather trade up for Willie Cauley-Stein and pay for other assets. Maybe a guy like Chris Middleton. Face him tonight.
It's an interesting approach. Just really quickly, the Spanish, the guys coming out of Spain right now. You have Porzingis.
Porzingis.
He's out of Latvia.
Latvia as well.
Oh yeah, his only.
Porzingis was gonna. He dropped out of the draft last year, last minute.
He was one of my favorites last year. I had him at number 10 on my board until he dropped out.
He's one of those long. He's one of those guys that can stretch the floor.
Yeah, I mean, and I think if Cauley-Stein's not your guy, Porzingis, he can't protect the rim quite yet like Willie Cauley-Stein can, and he's definitely not as versatile. Never gonna be like that, but he brings more offensively. He can shoot. He can stretch the floor. I don't want to say he's like a Olynyk. That's a lazy comparison, but for
maybe
Celtics fans,
Mirotic? Not as powerful.
Not quite, but he's the type of guy where he can shoot threes and drive closeouts. Yeah. And obviously the Celtics have a bunch of guys on the squad that can do that, so he'd be a fit.
All right, so let's go to box and ball here. I want to hear your stat tonight. It's a pretty good stat, according to the rumor mill. It's a pretty good stat.
Well, in the 3 minutes and 12 seconds Jared Sullinger played, he had a -7, but the advanced stats, the Celtics had a -120 net rating, which means in points per 100 possessions, they had a 33 offensive rating and a 153 defensive rating. So they were 120 points worse per 100 possessions in the 3 minutes Sullinger was on the floor. It's a small sample size, but when Brad went to him, I was kind of surprised. I think they were down 8 at the time they went to him. I was scratching my head thinking, I don't know, the guy's just coming back. It didn't work out.
And on the 4 minutes that he played, it seemed like half the plays ended with him either losing the ball, turning over, missing a shot, or committing foul. I mean, it was kind of like someone trying to lumber through like the game.
Yeah.
They were clearly a step behind. Your stat.
My stat is far less scientific.
Someone scored points.
Just 12 points 17 turnovers for the Celtics. Not scientific at all, but it killed them, especially in the fourth quarter there when they were making a run. I think they turned the ball over 3 straight times. in a very key part of the game and killed a lot of momentum. 17 turnovers and 19 points off those turnovers. So
I think that's just as impressive of a stat.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
very
Very
proud of you,
impressive,
buddy.
Jimmy. That was
Thank
good.
you.
So for me,
picked it
my
myself.
stat is 7 players in double figures for Milwaukee. They played 9 guys in this game tonight. 7 of them scored in double figures. And then the other guys were MCW, who had 8 points, and Jared Bayless, who had 6 points. So they almost had every single player in double figures, which is pretty remarkable to me. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Commenters, leave us a comment on the Celtics blog on the YouTube page if you can find that ever happening in NBA history, because I'm sure it's had as at some point, but I've never seen
I'm
it.
sure it has.
Yeah. So for me, run through my ballers line really quickly. Chris Middleton, because I'm a big fan of him, and I'm hoping he's watching the show and he will want to sign with the Boston
He's not.
Celtics. He's probably not, but you know,
You know what? Tweet it to him.
Tweet it to him.
I'll tweet it to him. By the numbers, wasn't even that impressive, but I thought his defense was crucial throughout most of the game. His help defense was really good, especially on trapping those point guards up on the perimeter. And then he had those big shots at the end of the game. He was the one that really put this game away for them, Jimmy.
My player of the game is Avery Bradley. Not so much for what he did on the court tonight, though he did score the team's first 9 points of the game, kind of set the tone right early on.
Yeah.
But he won, or he was the recipient of the Red Auerbach Award, given every year to the player on the team that epitomizes what it means to be a Celtic on and off the court. And I mean, as long as I've been covering the team, he's one of my favorite guys to talk to. He's a super nice guy, a great person, and a good player for them. So that's why he won. And hats off.
For me, I have Jonas Jerebko. Thought he played his
Okay.
ass off tonight. 17 points and 7 of 10 shooting, with 5 rebounds.
Should have had 2 more points.
Should have had 2 more points. You're never going to let that go,
Or
Jimmy.
at least 1 of 2.
At
At
least one of
of
them.
2.
Should have had 2 more free throw attempts.
I don't think he would have bricked both.
What was free throw attempts tonight?
He
2
was
for 2.
1
2 for 2.
yeah.
Should have been
He should have
4
went
for
4
4.
for 4, man.
But Jerebko played his ass off. Played good defense. He always plays hard.
Yeah.
And gave good energy tonight for the Celtics.
Will he be back next year?
Well, you would hope so. I mean, Brad said he was
why they paid
talking
for
in the
him.
front office for Gigi, so you would think he might have nice things to say about Jonas, too.
It's pretty
Good
good.
player
All
to
right,
have off
well,
the bench.
that's going to do it for us here on the Garden Report. Kevin, I'd say that you commentated your ass off on the show.
Oh, thanks, Jay.
Absolute
Good job.
pleasure to have you on the show. So everybody show Kevin some love. Follow him on Twitter at Kevin O'Connor NBA.
NBA, yep.
Beautiful. Jimmy Toscano.
Jimmy _ Toscano.
I apologize. At CLNS _ Jared Weiss.
Jimmy Toscano was taken. I don't want to talk about it.
Screw that guy.
Gotta
honestly.
tweet
Jared
him.
Weiss was taken. There's some saxophonist
Ah,
named
yeah.
Jared
Kevin
Weiss.
O'Connor was taking some guy from San Francisco, California.
Some jazz former executive.
I've tried to contact
Yeah.
him.
So that's going to do it for us. I want to thank our sponsors, Audible, our new sponsor. We're so excited to have them on board. One of the best sponsors of online audio video content in the game. So thanks for bringing us on board there. Lynda.com, great place to learn about how to use a camera that we're filming this show on, the Canon 7D. Of course, Reached. Go to Reach. Use the link in our description here. Go there. You can take the poll on Jared Sullinger. And, of course, Speak Organic Brewing, the delicious beer that gets us hammered before we film these shows. So
Right.
for Kevin, for Jimmy, or James Toscano, as you go by on Twitter now,
Whatever you want me to be.
I'm Jared Weiss. We will see you after next Sunday's game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. We only have 2 Garden Reports left in the regular season. Hopefully we'll have more.
I think that might be. I don't think I can make the last game. That might be my next game against the Cavs coming up.
Okay, we'll just have Kevin on again.
Yeah, I have been replaced.
So, for Kevin, Jimmy, I'm Jared. Peace out. Garden Report.